Hey, how y'all doing? This is Sun 919 coming to you with another segment. I know it's been a minute, but the team had a bye week, so I took a bye week as well. A lot of work goes into this when when you're trying to make sense of it and make it sound good for the people that do listen to you. So I'm gonna get right into it. I'm gonna name this section. It's called My Prediction on the Colorado Buffs in the UCLA football game, and I'm gonna tell you off the top. I think they're going to lose this game. I told myself when I started out I would not let politics or let my decisions be based on people that I like. I obviously like Coach Prime, grew up watching him, and of course I love what he did at Jackson State. I love what he's doing at Colorado, but at the same time, I pride myself in being as honest as I can, so I'm going to get right into it. I won't waste a lot of time on Colorado because we all know their strengths and weaknesses is well documented, and the people who follow them know what they are. But I'm gonna just put a couple in before I get right to UCLA. Of course, we know that Shador's an elite passer at this point. He was leading the nation in passing until the bye week. Now he's at number 4. He's right at 2,400 yards. We know that the rushing attack is not very good. Dillon leads that group with 250 total rush yards, which is terrible. Going into the second half of the season, you only have one back with 250 total yards. Some of those backs can get 250 in one game, definitely can get it in two. They average about 80 yards per game rushing, which is not very good to me. Hankerson is the starter for the most parts. He gets most of the carries. He starts most of the games. He is definitely not a bad running back. He's actually very solid because he's dependable. He does not fumble the ball. But at the same time, it's not like he's going to break a tackle and go for 30, 40, 50, 60 yards even for a touchdown most of the time. So he's not really a threat. The running game is not really a threat. They average about 350 pass yards per game. They're led by the receiver, Xavier Weaver, as we all know, and of course the elite quarterback in the Shador. So that's elite. So as far as defense, Colorado has a stop rank, meaning how much they stop their opponent. They're right at 68%. They rank 78 nationally, which is pretty bad. Which basically says they really can't stop anybody. So they have to depend on timely stops for the most part. And also they're dead last in penalty yards, right at 85 yards a game, and we all know that's terrible. They're dead last out of all Division I schools. So that's another reason I'm picking them to lose. And we know that their corners are struggling right now with the slant routes. And I'm sure they're going to see a lot of slants until they either figure out how to slow it down or how to stop it. So we all know these points of Colorado. So let me go right into UCLA. Their quarterback, Dante Moore, has a total of 1,300 yards with 10 touchdowns. But I read today he's been replaced by Garber. But in Dante's game, his last game, he actually had 240 yards passing and 2 touchdowns in the win. But they're saying he may be replaced. So I think that's a game time decision. So they kind of have to prepare for 2 quarterbacks. But either way, neither one of them seems to be too elite right now. One is a freshman, and I think anytime you play in a team, you're rather for the freshman to play. But it is what it is. They have 2 quarterbacks for the most part right now. They do have a running back, Carson Steele. He has 599 rush yards with 6 touchdowns. I read that he was a pro prospect. Their wide receiver, Jay Michaels, has 407 yards and 3 touchdowns. He's a pro prospect. They got another receiver, Logan Loya. He has 3 touchdowns as well, and they average about 269 yards passing yards per game, which is it's respectable. And they average about 215 yards rushing per game, that's tough. That's some good rushing yards. Also for UCLA, they have a defensive lineman, and his last name is Latu, Latu. He ranks number 13th nationally. He has 6 sacks. He's also a pro prospect, and he has 1 interception, which is a big deal as a defensive lineman. You have another guy on the defensive line named Gabriel Murphy. He's a number 99 prospect in rankings, in pro prospect rankings. He has about 4.5 sacks right now. And like I say, he's another pro prospect. Their running back, who I mentioned earlier, Carson Steele, is also an NFL pro prospect. He's right at 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. They have another wide receiver, Michael Sturvant. He's another NFL pro prospect. He has 407 yards and 3 touchdowns. So they have a lot of pro prospects that they're going to be throwing at the Colorado Buffs. Let's switch over completely to what scares me about them is their defense. They have a stop rate of about 84.6%. They're ranked number 3 nationwide, which tells you that a lot of times it's a lot of 3-and-outs with that ball club. So once they get into the game and get going, they can be hard to move the ball against. Their defense has a total of 11 interceptions, which is good. Their defense is considered elite, when I read up on them. And believe me, I'm going off of a lot of stats with them because I have not watched them play a lot since the season started. I'm just being honest about that. But their defense is considered an elite defense. Their rush defense is considered elite as well. They ranked 11 nationally in total yards per game as a defense. They ranked number 8 in yards per play. And again, that just goes back to showing you there are a lot of 3-and-outs with this team. So they do a lot of stopping. So they make you earn everything that you get. And which is going to be hard for Colorado because outside of passing, it's hard for them to move the ball. And we know we've watched every game. If you watch every game like I have, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And as I mentioned before, one of their main guys is Latu. I do not want to mispronounce anyone's name. He's going into a potential first round pick. Like I said before, with 6.5 sacks. And they ranked 8 nationally in sacks. So that, with Shador being one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the nation, that could be a downfall, and that's another reason I'm choosing them to lose. The only negatives I found about UCLA, they've only played the 61st toughest schedule, which means they're considered to have a lot of easy opponents on their schedule. They only consider, from reading up on them, they only have one solid win, and that was over Washington State. The rest of their wins are over Coastal Carolina, which is way below them. San Diego State, which normally has a good football program, I guess they're down right now, but they beat them. North Carolina Central, which is a HBCU school, we all know who North Carolina Central is. They beat Jackson State, Coach Prime and Jackson State, in the Celebration Bowl. A year or two ago, and then they beat Stanford, and I think they beat Stanford like 45-7. We know what type of team Stanford has, or was supposed to have when they played Colorado. So, they have 2 of the top 25 teams. They don't have to play Washington or Oregon this year, so it's going to make their record look a whole lot better than what it could be. And then some different. I read up on them and different pages, etc. And they're considered to be overranked at this time because they're ranked 23 in the nation. And some analysts think that they're overranked. What would that mean for the Colorado game? Nothing, because I still think they have more than what Colorado have. Another reason I think they're going to lose is I believe that with the amount of penalties and the lack of discipline that Colorado has, it's going to cost them. The lack of a running game is going to cost them. The lack of a rushing presence, as far as rushing, when we try to rush their quarterback, and because Colorado really doesn't get to the quarterback often, so it's going to give those quarterbacks time to throw the ball, time to see the field, and time to and get confidence. Once they get a couple of completions, they're going to feel very confident. And with the team not able to protect Shador, I think that's going to be a huge issue. We already know he's taken way too many hits for a quarterback, especially on this level, and with the rushing attack, with the defensive line that UCLA has and all the pro prospects that they have on their team. I think they're going to it's going to be a long night for Colorado, and it's going to be a long night for Shador as far as taking sacks. And even the balls that he can throw away and don't get sacked on, that still counts. Not as a sack, but it's a rush and it's an incompletion, which is, what they're aiming for, because you can't get to the quarterback on every single play. I think the crowd may be a factor because normally they say that UCLA don't draw a lot of fans, but from what I read, this game is supposed to be sold out. So on top of the things that I mentioned, on top of the crowd being there, and of course on top of everybody wanting to beat Colorado and Coach Sanders, Commanders. I think it's going to overwhelm Colorado for the first time as far as, being overwhelmed. I think they'll lose by about 3 touchdowns. So that's my intake on the game. That's my thoughts on the game. That's my truthful analysis and prediction on the game. Of course, I'm hoping I'm wrong, and I will come back up here and say I was wrong if they win. But I see them losing by about 3 touchdowns, and I think it's going to be a long night for them. So that's what I believe. That's what I think. It's Hunt 919 Truth Sports. Ride with me.